I am paging Dr. Chanda.
I am the doctor.
And I'm a licensed clinical psychologist.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Paging Dr. Chanda podcast, all things related to the Black culture.
The doctor in front of your name.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? You are now tuned in to the Paging Dr. Chanda podcast, where we talk about all things related to mental health, Black people, and the culture. I am your host, Dr. Chanda, licensed clinical psychologist, and it is Black History Month, y'all. Listen, y'all know at the Paging Dr. Chanda podcast, we talk about Black History 365, okay? We don't need a month, but today we blackity black, like we extra black this month. So I have none other than Mr. Crim with me today, and I'm so excited to have you, Mr. Crim.
Hey, Dr. Chanda, it's a pleasure and honor to be here. I can't wait to have this conversation, especially with your expertise.
I'm excited too. Listen, I think you're probably like one of the first pages that I followed on TikTok since joining. I'm a newbie to TikTok. Like I'm just now getting there. People finally convinced me to get on, but your page is legit. So it was definitely an honor to have you accept the invitation. Thank you.
No, the same with me. I mean, we'll get into that conversation, but I was not someone who was excited about joining TikTok, but that's where our people are. So I'm where we at, you know?
Absolutely. So I'm just going to briefly read your bio real quick, just so the people, just in case if they were living under a rock and they don't know who you are, they can kind of get an idea of some of the things you've accomplished. So Mr. Ernest Crim III is a self-proclaimed Black history advocate who is a native of the South Side of Chicago, period. I love Chicago, and a product of the late 80s. He has a University of Illinois Urbana champion.
Champaign. Yeah. I know it's a weird name for a city, but yeah.
That's all right. Alum who conducts or advocates for Black history, equity, and justice as a speaker, cultural consultant, socio-political commentator, and cast member on the PBS documentary Divided We Fall. You know you legit when you've been on PBS. Author of the Amazon bestseller Black History Saved My Life, and former city council candidate and high school social science instructor. As a consultant and speaker, he uses his experience with fighting a hate crime that went viral to teach the important role of Black history and how it plays a role in becoming culturally compliant and equitable in the workplace, school, and in broader community. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Mr. Ernest Crim.
Thank you.
Yeah, so your bio is legit. Like I said, I love everything that you're doing. So talk to us a little bit about some of the things that have shaped your life experiences. Like, what has that been like for you?
Yeah, so I included that part about the South Side of Chicago because that shaped everything. Growing up in the city and not really understanding the way things were set up, that had a profound impact on me because I had early exposure to other cultures, you know. And I know a lot of people like to politicize Chicago now because of and the violence that exists in our city is a product of these systems in place. And that's not something I knew when I was younger, but also too, a lot of people would probably be shocked to know that the violence that came as a result of the war on drugs and the crack epidemic was statistically a lot worse back then. But because we didn't always, have a timeline full of this news, we didn't know. We was just living our life, you know. So I grew up on the South Side, born in the late 80s and the 90s. I was bused to a white school for elementary, and having white friends early on and being able to see their neighborhoods, what they lived like, and then coming back to my neighborhood and seeing what our neighborhood looked like, it made me ask questions. And I would say that, I'm a product of parents who answered those questions or steered me in the right direction. And something that I'm finding a lot in our households, and I'm sure you can relate to this too, that those in our community who we deem to be successful, regardless if that means monetarily or based on the impact on the community, most often it's because they had a parent or mentor, somebody, a family member that answered those questions and they molded that curiosity. So I was always asking why. So if my mom or dad couldn't answer, they would send me downstairs and we had these encyclopedias from the World Book, before dial-up and all that stuff. And these books was old though. They was from the 60s. I don't know where they got them from. Might have been like a garage sale or something. But it still had like some good information in it, And I think that two things besides that really shaped me. My house looked like a Black History Museum. And for those who can see this video, you see my office right now. Like that's a micro.
The doctor in front of your name. The doctor in front of your name.
microcosm of what my house was like growing up.
Wow.
My mom had like African like art everywhere. We got black Jesus in the crib, so I could never understand why somebody had the blonde hair, blue eyed guy, whoever that was.
Whoever he is.
Whoever he is.
Get out.
Right. And then when you would walk downstairs, we had these posters, which ironically were sponsored by Budweiser of all companies, and it was called Great Kings and Queens of Africa. If you Google them, you'll find like some stuff probably on Etsy or eBay, and they had like these realistic pictures and portraits of African royalty from ancient Egypt all the way from the 1800s. We're talking about like Hatshepsut. We're talking about King Tut, of course. We're talking all the way to Mansa Musa, Queen Zinga, all these people. And I didn't like know what that was outside of that was just black brilliance. When I get older, like that type of stuff gets downloaded into your psyche. And from that, I equate blackness with greatness, even when I was around white folks for 8 years in school. And then besides that, I asked my mom one time when I was 9 years old why we never had a black president, because I didn't grow up with Obama. You know, Obama happened my senior year in college. So, and my mom told me because because they're waiting on you to grow up to fulfill that role. So like my mom like molded that inside of me, like and it's not that I want to even be that role anymore. I don't want to be president, but when somebody tells you that at night that you can do that, that makes you believe you can do anything you put your mind to, literally. So like that foundation right there put me off to a great start to me, because anything I faced from that point forward, I faced it proactively, and I had a relentless spirit from it.
You said a mouthful. Like it's so many things that we can dig into based on what you said. But I love how you pointed out, like you equate blackness with greatness. And that's not by coincidence. That's because your parents were intentional about instilling that in you and educating you on what blackness means. Because if we leave it up to society to educate our children on what blackness means, then we're going to be indoctrinated with the idea of us being barbaric, criminalized, and being unhinged people. Yeah. Right. And so I love the fact that your parents were intentional about that racial socialization piece.
Yeah, I don't even know, and I tell them all the time how big of an impact they had on me. I talk about it in my book too, but I don't know if they realize what they were giving birth to, Wow. But I know talking to them now, they're more than excited and happy about it.
I bet, and I think this really kind of proves to us, like especially Black people in general, parents, mentors, even if you don't have children, like we have to be intentional about educating the next generation. Yeah,
like every image,
right.
Like I don't think, like when they're young, especially, everything your kids see, they're ingesting, digesting, and it's coming out some way. So we have to be intentional about that.
Exactly. I remember talking about your experience. I remember growing up, like our parents used to take us to the African American festivals that we had in Delaware, and we would wear our like dashikis together, like as a family. Like that was just so meaningful to us, and it really helped to instill that sense of cultural pride, which is so important when instilling self-esteem in individuals who are have a history of being marginalized. So I love that.
100%.
Yeah. I do want to kind of talk more about like your life experiences, and even as you discuss your upbringing, I know there was a very traumatic situation that happened to you that actually went viral. And you ended up writing a book about it called Black History Saved My Life: How My Viral Hate Crime Led to an Awakening. So can we dig a little bit into that?
Yeah. So for everybody that knows me as a content creator, that hate crime video was my first piece of content. Wow. And it wasn't playing that way. I'll tell you this, like when that happened on July 30th, 2016, I had no intention to ever create content. Excuse me. My intention was to teach. I was a teacher at the time. I was still as pro-Black as I am now, but it was pretty much reserved for the classroom setting. I had a mentoring program. I would go to protests and stuff, but I wasn't the person, like, I'm not about to be up there speaking. That just wasn't my mindset, And what happened was really what always happens in our history over the course of the last 500, 600 years. Like, we just be minding our business, and then somebody white come bothering us, That's literally what happened. And me and my wife, we were at an event on the south side of Chicago, and there are not that many white spaces on the south side. So we were the majority in this situation. The white lady, she was there with one white friend and two Black folks. So if folks see this video, and it's literally the first video on my YouTube page, you'll be shocked to see that not only was she there with two black folks, but like they were creating like a barrier of protection. And how often do we see that symbolically with, some of us in our community will oftentimes protect whiteness as opposed to
Yes.
ourselves. So essentially, we went to this event. It was like the end of the summer. My wife's a teacher too, and we just wanted to have some fun without the kids. And we were there for about 3 or 4 hours. It was like an outdoor party, South Shore Cultural Center, right off the lake. And as we were getting ready to leave, I noticed there was a open beanbag game called cornhole. And I don't often play that game, and because when you at a cookout, usually if it's a game like that, there's always occupied. So I'm like, oh, let's play it. It's open. Um, Little did I know there was only one beanbag available. The group next to us, where this lady was, they had like a whole bunch of them. So we're assuming they're going to provide them. They didn't, but one of them in the group threw one really far, and nobody grabbed it. So my wife said after a few minutes, she goes over there and grabs it. And as soon as she grabs it, the white lady you see in the video, she was just like pissed off. Like she couldn't fathom a black person grab something that she didn't even own. It wasn't even hers. It was public property. But she just started flipping out, going off, screaming at us. And first thing she did was call my wife a hoe. And this was like after we weren't giving her the bag. Cause I'm like, you screaming at me, you ain't getting this back. So you might as well come correct. She calls her a hoe, and then at that point we're screaming at each other, and she calls us the N-word, and at that point the black folks, they already there. And I'm just like that. Then I started talking to them. I'm just kind of like, hold on, y'all just you gonna let this happen? Like y'all ain't gonna say nothing. That's how you feel,
right? Did they say anything?
They said something to us. No, the black guy, which really blew me. He never said a word. He was just standing there like this whole time. And I just, as a black, like I posted videos about some of the stuff I do in public. Like I cannot stand to see a black person in distress. I just can't. I just like, I have to say something, help, whatever. So it was beyond me that he didn't do anything and she didn't. So I'm like recording because she's calling us the N-word. I'm like, okay, well, bet we about to get some type of social justice in this situation. I'm about to make sure everybody knows who you are. So at this point, she's calling us the N-word, and I say, can you just like, keep saying it and give us all your information? Because you bold, right? Say your name, give me your address, all that. And she just like she just starts blurting it out, screaming it 30 more times.
And then, this is the lady that was with the black people.
With the black folks. And the black lady was like, oh, it doesn't bother us. It doesn't bother us. Like, what are you talking?
Right. Like,
so it's like they're between us and the white lady's behind. And then she takes a step away, turns back, and spits on us. And that was, I see. You see how you just felt, because I know the reaction, and I'm not sure if you saw it, but for anybody who has seen it or wants to see that, you just have to always keep in mind too, with that you're seeing it in first person, because I'm recording. You don't even see my face, but also too, like it's unfortunately very relatable for us, because even if you never experienced that, you see yourself, you hear me screaming loudly for them to do something, not for her, but for them. And she was calling the cops simultaneously while she's screaming at us. She wanted the cops to come over. So there's a whole bunch of dynamics going on. But not to spoil the story for anybody, but long story short, we left. She got kicked out. She didn't get arrested. And me and my wife was sat in the car, and we said, okay, we got to post this, get this information, because that was a crime, and I ain't going, basically. Like, and the rest, I guess, is history, because after that, I fought the case. I started posting vlogs because my Facebook page was taken down. And then, like, I started speaking. Honestly, 7 years ago this month, I had my first speaking engagement. I had a friend from college ask me to speak to a middle school. And then from there, I just kept going to share my story. Yep.
Wow. Well, first of all, I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm very happy that you're using that moment to educate like our people and to kind of like talk about some of these things, but that's not okay. Like that, like spitting on somebody is the lowest thing that you can do to somebody. And the simple fact that she was so comfortable with saying the N-word amongst her black friends, like that's beyond me.
Disturbing. And it's to me, it was literally a case of, at this point, it's like, imagine being racist and you find one of the most pro-black people ever, in that time. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
somebody who is not just pro-black was gonna speak out about like you.
Mhm.
That's horrible luck on her end because here I am 7 years later, and like I don't speak about it every day, but when I have a speaking engagement, people talk about it. We watch that. So like, yo, that's gonna live forever. Unfortunately for
Forever.
her, but hey, that's what you did. So
I wonder, so like while you were experiencing that, what happened with you, like emotionally? How did it impact you mentally? Like so many things can come from a situation like that.
I would say so. I grew up as like again, my neighborhood. You had to fight a lot.
Mhm.
You know, it was always love though. Like we fought, you know, then we'd be cool. Week later, a couple days later, win some, you lose some. By the time I became a teenager, kind of got that out of my system. Not confrontational, but somebody who like knows that I don't want to go to that place because you know how it is, especially when you're real kind to people, it's
Mhm.
because you know, it's like I don't want to go there.
Right.
So when that situation happened, I had never been that like stressed, trauma, like everything at once. From like I can't even recall. And people will ask me if I ever been called the N word before, and it happened in
Mhm.
college. But it was somebody in the car, and they were driving past. So it was like I've never been face to face with
Right.
the potential, the ability to react. You know, so I felt like it was I don't want to say a bad joke, but I have seen these on World Star, YouTube,
Mhm.
Facebook. It was like a thing where like I can't believe this is really happening. I mind my business.
Yeah.
You know, like I know I have a persona on social media, but like if anybody see me in public, I'm minding my business. I don't bother nobody. So it was a lot of disbelief, and I think because of how hard I was going in terms of us and how much I love us, I was not like I can never be disappointed in a white person for being racist. Like the society's supposed to produce you to
Yeah.
do that. Like for
Right.
you, when you go against that, I'm proud of you. Shout out to you for doing that because you're supposed to
Exactly.
be racist here. That's
Right.
how
It's
America.
embedded. It's embedded in American
Right.
culture. Racism.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whether you become like blatantly or whether you just got these biases that you're willing to look on, whatever. Like you're supposed to be that way. They want you to.
Mhm.
So like I was more disappointed again in the black folks there, and I think in that moment that's when I realized that like no, I don't want to say I didn't realize it before, but it's like I cannot always expect people to have the same level of stewardship or the same
Yeah.
level of care that I have just because they look like me.
Mhm.
And I think too, like wanting to, be there for my wife, but also understanding too what's the best thing to do in this situation. And my book is really just a big prequel. So it talks about like knowing everything about my consciousness beforehand and all the racist experiences I had and how Black history helped me make sense of it. You
Right.
have to be aware, like at the drop of a dime, that she's calling the cops over. She's calling us the N word. 2 weeks before Alton Sterling happened. 3 weeks before Philando Castile happened.
Wow.
A year ago, Sandra Bland happened. So I'm like, the last thing I want to do is be in a situation where an officer controls my destiny, and I'm looked at as the instant or the initiator when in fact she started this whole thing. So it was whenever I dealt with something like that in my life, and I mean more so like with police or whatever, it was always a case of you're not gonna just get away with this. Like and I get that from my mom and her
Right.
dad a lot. So I just knew pointing forward I wasn't gonna shut up about it. I could tell.
Period. Period. Like, and honestly, we need those moments because unfortunately we do see the hate crimes where our loved ones, the people who we look like on TV, are gunned down, are
Mhm.
killed, are incarcerated for reasons of racism, right? But hearing like your story and how you were able to overcome that and utilize that to help elevate like this platform related to Black history, I think that is that's profound right there. So tell me how, like, specifically like Black history,
Mhm.
how did that help you in that specific situation in terms of like making sense of everything that was going on?
I would equate it to, and this will be the first time I use this analogy. So I would say, like, if you take martial arts, they tell you like we're teaching you this so you don't have to use it. So
Okay.
it's one of those things where like they teach you how to do all these these like really moves you could kill somebody, but it's self-defense, and most of the people who know martial arts are really unassuming. Like I've had kids who are 5th degree black belts, it's tiniest kids in the class, but could just kill everybody if they wanted to with a simple move. So it's one of those things where like I had studied Black history so much up until that point where I felt like you calling me the N-word doesn't like it was more so like not hurt feelings, but like you really disrespectful. It was a disrespect thing. I couldn't believe you gonna be like this to me, like for real. But again, it's like you calling me the N-word, but like I know the whole foundation for European culture is Africa. Like I know that America will not be what it was without Black Americans. Like I know that Europe would still be probably in the dark ages if it wasn't for the Moors, the African Moors who came there. So it's like when you say that, it says more about you than me. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't something that I realized in that moment. That's why I say Black history saved my life, because it was something I realized when I was busted at white school, when I asked my mom that question, when I went to an all-black high school, again, noticing the differences, when I got pulled over in high school several times, and Black history always served as that defense to fight it.
The doctor in front of your name. The doctor in front of your name.
To my kids, there might be some days I might forget, whatever. My kids' test scores are showing it, and I'm not like a big believer in the way the school system, whatever. But I still know that there's merit in going through the school process. My kids, and they're like the percentiles they own off the charts in reading and math, and I think that's a direct like correlation to reading to them daily. So if you can't even buy, if you like ain't got the money, I feel you. Go to the library. Took my kids to the library recently. Like get a book. That's up free. Just don't like return it in 2 weeks. But read like you can. This stuff, like, it's simple. Read to your kids daily. You don't have to know everything, but let them know that you're willing to help them. I saw this story. This little boy from New York, 9-year-old Black boy, the poet laureate of the state. He's with the governor reading poems to open up her sessions and stuff like that. Wow. He's raised by his grandmother. She said that in 2020, when the George Floyd stuff was happening, he had a bunch of questions. She don't know it. She ain't a Black history teacher. What did she say? Write about how you feel. Let's look up some stuff. That's all you got to do, is be able to sit still and listen to your kids, and don't say, I don't know. Don't say, and I'm sorry, you can say, I don't know. Say, I don't know, but let's figure it out. Don't push them off. Don't tell them to mind their business. If they ask it, then they're ready for the conversation. So like this stuff is free. You go to the library, ask your kids questions. And what I'm working on now, and I can't give you a release, but I'm working on something that is going to give our families dang near, it's going to be called Black History Year, is probably what I'm gonna call it. Like you're gonna have somebody to celebrate with your family every single week, because I don't think a day, I think that's too quick. Like digest Dr. King for a whole week. You know what I'm saying? Digest Ida B. Wells for a whole week. Talk about these people. Those first 5-10 years, that makes a difference. And after that, you would already have nourished that. And I also have an online Black history course for K-5 kids where we do this. But my best tip is to read to your kids every day. Do some research with them, take them to the library, put up some posters in the house that look like them. When they watching some on TV, you know what I'm saying? Find representation as much as possible, and let them know that if they see something that does not have representation, that's not right. Because like not only are we 14, I think we're more than that of the population, because we don't all fill out the census. But right, you know what I'm saying? But like it's no way you should not be represented in everything you see. If you ain't there, create it.
Period. If you're not that created. So parents, y'all heard it here first. So there are lots of books, there are lots of resources out here that you can utilize in order to instill the greatness of what it means to be Black, and to provide that racial socialization that our kids and our families need. So Mr. Crim, we definitely appreciated your presence today.
Oh, thank you for having me. We could have did like 3 hours of this.
Right, like,
I'm glad you capped it though, because like I'll just keep going.
No, for real. That just means you got to come back, because like this conversation can go in so many different directions.
Yeah, straight up.
Word. So I appreciate you for coming today. Where can the people find you?
Yeah, I would say start with Instagram. TikTok blew me up a little bit, but like Instagram, I like the cohesion of Instagram. So go to Instagram at MRCrim3. All my resources are there in my bio, the link tree. You go to ernestcrim.com. But like once you go on the Instagram, you'll be able to find, or even TikTok at Mr. Crim 3, you'll find a bunch of videos. So even when you're talking about what to teach your kids, you'll find information there for free that you can relate to them or have them watch.
Amazing. I'm very proud of everything that you're doing. Please continue the work. So many people out there need you. Everybody out there listening, make sure you guys tune in all month long as we talk about Black history and Black people. And don't forget, you have the power to create the emotions that y'all want to experience. God bless.
The doctor in front of your name.